Okay, so this video is all about, and really ideally for people that are looking to approach businesses about the K8 or some of the affiliated machines, the SD501, the SD501U, the Super. So any of the machines that produce this water, similar to the K8, the molecular hydrogen. So we're going to be talking about that. How do you approach businesses? So the first step, I'm just going to take you through a couple quick steps. I'm not going to go in depth. We'll have to do that in additional videos or in additional trainings. But the first step is what I call recon. So step number one, recon. Do your homework. You can go on, in Michigan, we have something called LARA, LARA. It is the state business entity. If you just put in like a search engine, Michigan business entity, and I would bet it's the same for any other state. So you just put in business entity search. And let's say you're planning on going to, a specific business. Do a little bit of research first. Find out who's listed as on the state level as the owner of that business. You can also do some recon. Now, I specifically use a company called Sales Genie to do a lot of my recon because it has a lot of that information. And that's not going to necessarily tell you the same way that you could go on Facebook or Instagram or just do a search in an engine, but in a search engine on the internet. But find out who at least at one point was the owner, the manager, some face of the company. That's the name that you want. So there's a ton of resources out there. Like I said, I've just given you a couple of them, but go and find out who the owner or manager was at least at one point. So then when you make your recon call, which is step two, your recon call, you are just validating that information and you already have a name in mind. So for example, a call might go like this. Hi, this is Katura. I'm calling. I'm going to be sending out some information about some ionized hydrogen water. Have you ever heard of it? No? Okay. Well, I'm sending this information out and I want to just make sure that I put it to the right attention. Is Bob still the owner over there? Now they might say, yeah, Bob's still the owner. Perfect. I'm going to send it to his attention. Or they might say, oh no, Bob's not the owner anymore. He sold and Betty's now the owner. So it is fine to get the gatekeeper, the person that is answering the phone. A lot of times, especially if it's a business that's busy, I know standard protocol would say don't call when they're busy. I do the opposite. Um, for restaurants, I call during rush hour, like when it's super busy, when there's like lunch rush, because I know that they want to get me off the phone. So they're going to give me that small bit of information to get the phone to hang up. So I'll say, oh, is Bob still the owner? Oh, no, Bob's not the owner. Betty's the owner. Or, oh, yeah, Bob's the owner, but he's never here. Send it to Betty. She's the GM. She's the general manager. So you're going to get that information right off the bat. And I am going to be sending them some information. Now, if you wanted to, you could try to, find an email. For a lot of mine, I already have the email, so I don't really add that into my discussion on this recon call, but you could try to find an email. You could do that actually through Facebook sometimes, Instagram, or on their actual website. Or you could ask the person on the phone. Again, if they're busy, they might just give you, hey, this is our locations email. Just send it to that one, put it to Betty's attention. So that's recon. The third one, I personally kind of like because I'm doing these business to business type approach. I do like going into these businesses. So I'll have like maybe five, 5 or so that I'm going to in any one fell swoop. And I think I did this the other day just to see how many I could go to in a short span of time. And I think it took me about an hour, hour and a half. Because again, I'm going in, and there's not a script. There's not something that I say. I try to be as organic as I possibly can. So when I go in, I already have a name because I've already done my recon. So I go in, and I have my packet. We can talk about that one, what I put in my packet in another video. But and I think, there's some different ideas that I have behind that. I'm testing a couple of them. It's almost like an A/B test that you would do online, but in person. So I'm testing a couple different packets to see what is giving me the best result. So, and I think I've got one now that gives me a pretty good result. So I go out and I stop in at that business and I say, hi, I'm Katura. I called the other day and I always have a name of who I talk to. I talked to Jen and she said that, Bob's still the owner here, but Betty is the manager that I should leave this with. So this is for Betty. Is she in by any chance? No? Okay, no problem. Just leave this for her and let her know that I'll follow up and give her a call. What's a good time to actually call her and follow up? Oh, she's in the afternoons? Okay, perfect. Tell her I give her a call, later this week, on the afternoon. Is Thursday usually a good day? Okay, perfect. Tell her I'll call her between like 2 and 4 on Thursday. And what's your name? And make sure you're getting names. So getting names along the way, the gatekeeper, the person that you talk to here, you want all these names because when you call and you talk to Betty, you can refer back. And it also increases the chance that Betty's going to get that paperwork. Because if Jen knows that you already called and you talked to somebody and then you came in and then you left it with her and she knows that you know her name, she's going to know that when you call Betty, you're going to mention, "Oh, I left the paperwork with Jen." And Jen better have gotten Betty the paperwork. Does that make sense? So keep these names along the way and make little notes of like when is a good time to call. And so now when I've talked to Betty, I now have two other people in her organization that I've actually talked to. And I'm going to pause for a second and say, if Betty is there, do not go into a long conversation with her. You don't have an appointment. You're dropping off information. Don't get lulled into, well, what is this about? Don't get lulled into that because you said that you were going to drop off some information. Don't spend a lot of time. Don't take a lot of time because Betty's going to know that when you said you were going to drop off information, you had every intention of cornering her. So don't corner her. Even if she begs you, hold back and say, no, no, no. I've got 4 other places that I'm going today. I was just dropping off some information. I'll call you. What's a good time? So even if it's Betty that I'm talking to, I do not try to have a conversation right then and there. I am a bam, 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 out the door. I want to be in and out of 5 places in an hour, hour and a half. So to do that, I can't have a long conversation with Betty right now. It's my time, it's her time, and I don't have an appointment. So I'm dropping the information off. I might say something like, hey, check out this link. Like I use a tap water link as a QR code on mine. Just a little hint of what the paperwork is that I leave in the information. And then I leave that with her and maybe if it's Betty, I set up a time. I'm like, "Hey, you know what? How about I call you on Thursday? Is 2 o'clock good? I promise I won't take like more than 10 or 15 minutes. Are you more comfortable with a phone call or a Zoom?" I might do that. And that would be the extent of it. And if she says, "Man, I love a Zoom." Okay, let me get your cell number or an email, and then I'll sell her email capture at that time. And I'll say, let's talk on Thursday and I'll take 10 to 15 minutes of your time and we'll see if if this is something that might work for you, if we can help you out. And I leave it at that. Don't make it super complicated. And after that, after this point, after the time that I've spent, couple minutes, I try not to go over honestly 2 minutes. If I'm in there for more than 2 minutes, I've failed. I've done more than I planned on doing. So I try to be in 2 minutes or less. And then I'm off. And I'm never going back physically into that business again until they become a client. Never again. Everything is phone and Zoom and email and text and calls from that point on. I never walk because it's too much time. Takes too much of my effort. So that just opens you up to the first part of the program of what I do when I'm approaching businesses. And hopefully this helps. I'll talk a little bit about the packet on the next one I do.